I woke up on Monday to see all the morning news shows covering this story of an allegedly racially motivated arrest at a Philadelphia Starbucks.
The CEO of Starbucks says he wants to apologize personally to two black men after video of their arrest in a Philadelphia coffee shop spurred outrage.
Two men arrested at a Starbucks in Philadelphia as nearby customers, they're verbally questioning why these men are being handcuffed.
This morning, growing outrage over cell phone video captured at a Starbucks in Philadelphia.
They didn't do anything. I saw the entire thing.
All of these stories are about 2 minutes apiece, and they all present the implication that two black men were arrested at a coffee shop for doing nothing other than being a racial minority. If you're like me, you see that presentation and you think, yeah, that sounds a little simplistic. There's got to be more detail here. Since everybody's forming strong opinions on this story, and since there are actually a lot of unknowns in the fact pattern, I figure an explanation of the sequence of events and what we actually know with certainty is in order. The story begins on Thursday afternoon when a 45-second video clip from a woman named Melissa DePino was posted on Twitter, captioned, quote, "The police were called because these men hadn't ordered anything. They were waiting for a friend to show up who did, as they were taken out in handcuffs for doing nothing. All the white people are wondering why it's never happened to us when we do the same thing." The brief clip shows the arrest and removal of two black men from the shop, along with the protest and questioning of Andrew Yaff, a local real estate developer who was planning to meet the two men for a discussion.
What did they get called for? Because there are two black guys sitting here meeting me? Yes. Well, what did they do? What did they do?
The video went viral across social media platforms, characterized as a clear case of discrimination, described as such by Yaff himself in a second video angle uploaded to YouTube at the same time from another witness.
Absolutely discrimination. Why was anyone else asking?
This video is much longer, over 8 minutes in length. It's a more comprehensive view of the event overall. Of course, social media does what it does, and an outrage storm blows in, prompting the Philadelphia Police Commissioner Richard Ross to post to Facebook, defending his officers and explaining the full details of what happened as the police understand them.
It is important for me to say that, in short, these officers did absolutely nothing wrong.
According to the commissioner, this story originates with the two men entering the store, not buying anything, but still wanting to use the bathroom.
Police received a 911 call for a disturbance and trespassing. When the police arrived, they were met by Starbucks employees who said that two males were trespassing and had refused to leave the establishment. According to employees, they had seen these two males come in, they sat down, and after being seated, they decided that they needed to use the restroom. Starbucks said that according to their company policy, they do not allow non-paying members or non-paying people of the public to come in and use the restroom. They then asked these two males to leave. These two males refused to leave. When the police were summoned to the scene, they get there and they get this story that I just began to outline. They then approached the males. They asked the males to leave because they're being asked to leave by Starbucks employees. And 3 different occasions, the officers asked the males politely to leave the location because they were being asked to leave by employees because they were trespassing. Instead, the males continued to refuse, as they had told the employees previously, and they told the officers that they were not leaving.
That second video angle corroborates the general description of events from the commissioner. It's very difficult to hear what anyone is saying, but it's clear the police are trying to be patient with these men and give them plenty of opportunities to leave on their own accord rather than face arrest for trespass. Ultimately, walking free is not what these men chose. They were detained, but never actually charged with a crime and released later that day. Also on Saturday, the Philadelphia mayor had a much harsher description of events than the police commissioner did. The mayor released a statement that describes the event as an exemplification of racial discrimination in 2018, and he promised an investigation from the Philadelphia Commission on Human Relations. Meanwhile, the social media storm rages on, prompting Starbucks CEO Kevin Johnson to release a written apology Saturday and an apology video Sunday on Facebook, describing the incident as reprehensible.
What happened and the way that incident escalated and the outcome was nothing but reprehensible. and I'm sorry.
And then on Monday, the CEO met with the two men who were arrested, those men yet to be identified publicly, in addition to meeting with the Philadelphia mayor and police. The CEO also announced Monday that Starbucks will implement unconscious bias training for its staff, and that the manager responsible for calling the police in this case no longer works for the company. And all the while, protest at this Starbucks store continues, even intensifies, despite every concession made from the Starbucks CEO and the city mayor. On Monday, protesters actually shut the store down, occupying it with signs and megaphones and chanting.
A whole lot of racism, a whole lot of crime. A whole lot of racism, a whole lot of crime. Starbucks coffee is anti-black. Starbucks coffee is anti-black.
Yeah, Starbucks coffee is so anti-black, it allows black people to come into the store and shut down the business entirely. And look at this sign. We have nothing to lose but our chains. Yeah, slavery, being denied a bathroom because you wouldn't buy mediocre overpriced coffee, those are basically the same thing. The irony is these guys were repeatedly offered freedom from Starbucks, and they literally said, no thank you, I will take chains please, or at least handcuffs. You can tell where I stand on this one, but I'll try to be as fair as possible in explaining my perspective. There is no direct evidence of racism in this case. To get to that conclusion, you have to start with only knowing the race of the two men involved, and then make a series of assumptions after that. The argument that this was a case of racial discrimination rests upon a counterfactual. Would these arrests have happened if the two men involved were white? Well, two things about counterfactuals. One, since that's not what actually happened, the answer is always, we don't know. We could speculate, but we don't know. But two, counterfactuals can usually be used to argue just as credibly against your case as well. Would these men have been arrested if they were white? Maybe, maybe not. But would we even know about this case if they were white? Would we even hear about it? My suspicion is no. In my opinion, it's usually better to offer the benefit of the doubt in the absence of evidence than to construct an argument that relies upon an assumption of malice. Now, in that same spirit, and to the protesters' point, maybe Starbucks management should have extended that same type of generosity to these men and not assigned them malice. The difference is Starbucks agrees with that sentiment in full. The CEO apologized to everyone involved and the entire country. He's changing company policy. He has responded to and fulfilled every protester demand. And if they come back with more, I suspect he'll be right there to do whatever they say. So then why are they still protesting? What are these protests really about? Are they really about corporate policy or corporate treatment of customers? Is there anything this CEO could actually do to get them to stop protesting? And if not, it's not about Starbucks or even these two arrested men at all. We haven't even heard from these men yet. We don't know what they might say. We don't even know what their perspective is. It's about showmanship. It's about theatrics. It's about maintaining a narrative of victimhood, even when everybody involved with this case will do whatever these protesters say to alleviate that victimhood. But the trouble is, as soon as you're no longer a victim, your ideology fails to explain the world anymore. And you have to move on to something else. And that's what I suspect these protests are actually about. It's not about Starbucks. It's not about their coffee. It's not about their bathrooms. It's not about any of the specific facts of this case. It's about maintaining a narrative that allows them to exert power over others. If it's about justice, the specifics of the case are crucial and assumptions have to be minimized. If it's about power, you can leapfrog with assumptions straight to the conclusion you need to reinforce and perpetuate that power. And maybe not. Maybe I'm way off. Maybe this Starbucks was actually managed by some secret KKK member. There are a lot of unknowns in this case. But that's the way I see it. Thanks as always for listening and for supporting this channel. Always appreciate that thoughtful discussion down below and especially over on Twitter. That is at ML Christiansen. You're always welcome to coming out and chat in my live streams. Those are linked down in the description. Looking forward to it. Okay, bye.